Hello. He said my name is Eric Wing. I'm the director of Building Information Modeling at C&S Companies. We're in the States. We have about 20 offices across the country. I'd say how long I've been doing this for, but I didn't need these when I started doing all this. This is kind of where I'm at in my life. So just to jump into it, this presentation will be a little bit more, I don't know, click trainy kind of, because that's sort of what I do. So I want to talk about coordinating vertical construction with site civil, because that has been an issue, at least for me. For the last probably 15 years, I've had a tough time just knowing the exact way Autodesk wants me to do this, right? And I've had some pretty bad projects, which I'm going to show to you. They're live projects. This one is the only one that actually did go okay, right? So this is in Orlando. It's a new terminal we did. Actually, it's still in Revit 2016. It was one of the first. It was one of the first projects on BIM 360. I wonder if anyone knows what they called that. It was just for Revit. No one, huh? I'll buy you a pint. Who? Wait, someone said it. No, I thought someone else said it. What'd you say? Collaboration for Revit. I said no. Now I owe you 2 pints. How about 7? Let's go. Let's do this thing. All right. So, right, this was on shared coordinates. There was one issue where they could not see it, like once they, not designed it and started building it, but FAA realized that perhaps there was some obstructions from the towers, so stuff had to move, and that's where this stuff starts to get off track, right? So why are we talking about this? At first, I thought perhaps this was too remedial of a topic to bring to an event like this, right? It's basically coordination, shared coordinates in Revit, but there's software incompatibility, right? Unfortunately, and it's Cesar's down here. There's no Autodesk people here, so I can go with it. Their own products are not compatible with one another, right? You have to export stuff. You have to import stuff. It's such a workaround to get to where you need it to be, right? And it's tough. It's tough to have to overcome that and not have a real workflow on how to frickin' do it, right? Personnel incompatibility. Civil engineers, architects, vertical engineers, they just don't talk. I don't know. Each one of us, our stuff is so much more difficult than your stuff. You can't comprehend, how we build things, right? But it's that level of coordination that we need to be able to come together. And I just had to throw the word coordination in there because it's expected. Poor or outdated site information, right? You go through all this stuff, you get your building on the shared coordinates, and like, wait, that's an old file. This is the actual survey. Damn it. That happens. It happens a lot. And alignment mistakes, and we'll get into that. We have to physically align the building with a line in AutoCAD and say, yeah, go. Let's do the $2.7 billion project with 50 different Revit models. Yeah, I think it's good. We got it. I aligned it to that line in frickin' Civil 3D, right? Or just ignoring it altogether. I don't know why I italicized it, because it's, to me, important. A lot of times it's like, you know what? I'm not doing this. Screw it. The civil engineer can just bring it in and move it into the right damn spot, right? Because bad things happen. And again, these are live projects that I'm literally getting emailed about right now. So when you see me after this presentation, I'm walking around all nervous, it's because of this stuff. It's because of that. What is that? Well, first of all, the disclaimer on the dimensions, right? The imperial dimensions. I know people that use metrics find this to be the dumbest damn thing ever. I know that. I don't understand it either. But the problem is, the sea level is 620.2, right? What the hell is that? So I'm looking at these models like, I don't know if this stuff is lined up or not, right? There's another one. Oh, that one. I guess they're lined up, right? I get these models and I'm looking, like something's not right here. Something is not gonna work here. Look at, again, the 11/16. How stupid is that? Oh my God. Okay, so yeah, this one is, I don't even know why I do these slides right now, because literally I'm afraid to open these models up. Damn it. So that's all jacked up right there. And that is a project that we're working on now. It's a big airport. And yeah, so these are the things that happen. But, oh, this one. You know, why do people do that? It's like, I want to move my building to 100 feet. That way I don't have a negative value. Well, recent project is on shared coordinates. And I have, adjust their level because they wanted to read the actual, sea level elevation. He's like, mine says 100. Like, why did you do that? Like, he moved it, took it off shared coordinates, moved his building up 100 feet, and then was like, how come mine's not right? It's like, right. And it's a brand new building out in the middle of a field, right? So it should be an easy one. It's not even rotated true north. And this too, right? That's not on shared coordinates. Hey, let's just move the point. Like, why? Why are you messing with that? You can pin it, I guess, right? People pin that thing. It doesn't take Bill Gates to unpin it, right? Because they want to just play with it. That really doesn't matter at the end of the day. It really doesn't. At least that base point is on, the origin point, which, whatever. But the thing is, and the reason why I decided that this would be a topic that we could discuss is I inherited these projects. I didn't do that, right? That's my disclaimer. It wasn't me, right? I got all these projects for various reasons. I don't think any of it was a BIM disaster, but I'm jealous of the BIM manager. I know them. They're big firms, and they all had huge, extensive BIM execution plans, right? And that stuff happens. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, everything seems to be in the right spot. That I don't want to export this to even Navisworks because I'm afraid that it's going to be. What I did was I just had them all in one and exported the entire model. I didn't do the separate ones because I freaking know that it's not going to be lined up. But the thing is, these big BIM execution plans, just to me, it's so much reading, right? You got links to other BIM execution plans, links to LOD, which is always freaking 300. You don't have to make a case for all the different, levels of detail or development. I don't even know what it's supposed to be. But geez, man, you got to get the other stuff right to begin with, right? So we just ignore it. Let's ignore coordinating our buildings with site civil because it's difficult and it stresses me out and there's a good chance my buildings aren't going to be lined up, right? And are we planning for the worst case scenario? Like with me, that's the worst case scenario, someone moving their thing, but all right, please don't do it again. But you get someone, while I had the intern link the model, I was like, okay, how did they bring it in? I don't know, center to center, I don't know. We got to worry about that stuff, to me, right? And I think if we make the procedures difficult, we're going to have worst case scenario every freaking day, right? Worst case every day. Don't have the intern. I don't even want him in the building, although my son was an intern at C&S, and it was a stressful summer. But do we hide behind the BIM execution plan? Sometimes, I don't know, I do. Because projects like that, you're better off going into everyone's model, and making sure their stuff's right. I don't want to do that, but I see a lot of projects be like, here's our BIM execution plan. It still says draft on it, because they don't actually use it. It should work out just fine. I don't like doing that, right? I like to get into the models, and I like to make sure it's all good. I screw up a lot, too, by the way. But, at least I know I screwed up, and I can fix it. So to get started, right, try to lock it in. The project, I just bashed BIM execution plans, but it shouldn't be separate from the actual project kickoff. Right? We'll have a project kickoff. We'll discuss scope, design. We don't discuss our freaking software we're using. We don't discuss this process in that meeting, which to me, it's already kicked down to the secondary, it's fine, We don't have to worry about that. Our BIM people are on it. So the stakeholders, the important people, usually don't even care. It's like, got to deal with this stuff, right? I'm a firm believer in having that in the actual project kickoff, not just a BIM kickoff. It should be the same thing. Survey should be done up front, right? If you don't have a survey, I generally don't. I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing this. Origin, let's go. We're good. Because it's your best moment to get it right? It's before you put that stuff up to BIM 360, which I assume everyone uses at this point. Because once it's on BIM 360 and you need to really adjust it, you got to pull it all off of BIM 360 because you cannot publish coordinates on BIM 360. You'll get a sync fail, right? So this stuff needs to be planned out way ahead of time, right? So when you have a BIM kickoff or a project kickoff, I like to have that stuff set, man. When we have that meeting, I want my shit lined up. Sorry, I promised I wouldn't swear. I don't normally. So, okay, I'll get into the, oh, wow, okay, I better roll. So, yeah, it makes my skin crawl to go into AutoCAD too. But go into the civil model and make sure it's on some kind of coordinate system, right? Go in there and look at it, right? Make sure you're good. Because if you're bringing in bad data, your coordinates are going to be jacked up in Revit, right? So this is where I kind of veer off from what people like to do. I like to have a separate site model, right? I have that because look at that. That's bad. Geometry in the file is huge. That's a bad thing to have happen. It will mess your model up. If you get that error, it's bad, right? And I like the elements lost on import. Look what they try to do. Try exploding the file in AutoCAD. These are the instructions coming right from Autodesk. They're telling you to explode it. Don't do that. Yeah, go into your civil engineer's model and explode all their pipe networks just so they show up in Revit. Great. And it's out of range. I do that because what this does is this quarantines all that stuff. But I still need the live data, right? I want the civil engineer to work, and I want that live linked into something, right? So I set up a civil model, and I pull that in, and I can bring the other trades in, and I can much better, it's like a kind of a project dashboard in a way to work at it. And we can publish surfaces from Civil 3D too, and we'll look at that in a second. Yeah, so these site points showed up, I think, in 2020.1. All of a sudden, this thing shows up. Like, oh my God, there it is. That's like the holy grail. No one ever knew what it was. It was like folklore. It's like, what is this? It's finally there. Now I can see. Oh, man. I don't feel good about any projects I'm working on now. Project base point, I'm a firm believer that it should stay with that origin. People will disagree with me, that's fine. Survey point, that's your sea level, right? Try to keep them all lined up. You're in your best interest. The survey point we'll look at in a second, that can be at 0, right? Because when we bring in Civil 3D, there's going to be line work at 0, and there's going to be their surfaces and stuff up at the actual elevation, so that's fine. And even in my template now, when they open it up, it says start here, right? So they kind of get confused with that. So can I move this site? Yeah, you can move it. I like to move it right to that point, right? If you have multiple buildings on the site, don't bother as long as it's in the neighborhood. Or sometimes I'll move that to an actual known survey point. And then we can acquire the coordinates. And I always, nervously spot check them. Man, 15 minutes goes quick. Now we're going to locate the model, right? We're going to acquire the coordinates from the site civil. We check it. We bring in the architectural model or structural model, whatever you got modeled. And you got to do it, man. You got to move it. And I like to move it up, right, to the right elevation because Revit, for some reason, when you acquire coordinates, just ignores that value. So you got to manually do that, not by moving points, move the entire link, and then you're going to you're going to publish the coordinates to that model. But the problem is, if you have multiple sites that they let you do is the worst thing you want to ever do, to me. That's my opinion, because no one knows what one is freaking supposed to be right? And you have to disable the shared positioning for the AutoCAD. Don't save that back. Do not save that shit back, right? And then check it out, right? I like to have first floor at 0, and then I can switch that to be the sea level elevation. Now we're in the right spot, right? We got our little arrows and all that stuff. And now we have choices, right? That worst case scenario. All All right, you can go origin to origin, project base point, or shared coordinates, whatever. If it's not right, you can just move it to the right spot. Look at it when you're doing it. If it moves it to the wrong spot, stop. And then again, test it out. I actually, I had a typo there that's supposed to say shared, but I thought I'd let it go because even me, I can, time's up. So that right there, my shared sites, you do not want that. You want that to say internal. And that wasn't too far over. I kind of rushed through the last ones, but there's probably a lot of questions. So at the where we sit here, you can fire off questions or comments if you completely disagree with me. Thank you.